Hello, everybody, and welcome to Edusations. My name is Phil Strunk, and I'm your host for the show. Today, I'm joined by Jon from Irvine, California. Jon, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the viewers?
Yeah, my name is Jon Resendez. I teach high school social studies at Portola High School in Irvine. We are a suburb of Los Angeles. We're about 45 minutes to an hour south of there. It's a brand new high school. We don't even have seniors yet. I started this project in 2015. And so I'm building a social studies department and trying to help build a school culture around some of the things that are really important to me, like interdisciplinary learning and civics education and things like that.
Yeah, all things that I'm hoping we can talk about today too. Let's start right with this interdisciplinary learning. What does that look like for you as you're building this new school or this new department?
I think with these kinds of issues, you have to start with fundamentals. You always have to start with your why. And so our why at Portola was the need to prepare students for anything. It's not about preparing them for college or the next course or the next test or the next quiz. It's about making sure that they leave us knowing how to create a better future for themselves and contribute to their communities and just to be happy in general. And so a big part of the philosophy here is passion. You know, we want students to leave us knowing what they're passionate about and what they love, what they can do, what the world needs of them. And a big part of that is this idea that, you know, if you're going to solve problems in the world, they're not going to come at you in disciplinary ways. They're not history problems or science problems or math problems. That exactly. Most problems of significance require you to understand all of your subjects in a way and wield them all as tools to solve problems. And so we really do some things systematically at the school to foster interdisciplinary learning, and then we do some things. We're working on some new things to do it within our department, but. One of the things we do at our school, for instance, is one of our staff meetings a month is in a staff meeting. It's a collab, and it's called cross-curricular collaboration. And the entire staff gets together, and we do interdisciplinary activities as an entire staff. We get to learn, we get to know each other, what each other are doing. Part of it is awareness. You know, what's going on in science, what's going on in math, what's going on in English, and how might we capitalize on that, and how might those disciplines capitalize on what we're doing. So we do that once a month, and we're also the architecture of our school is such where we don't have any desks in our classrooms.
Okay.
Our teacher desks are actually in separate spaces called collaboration spaces. So the teachers, those collaboration spaces are filled with teachers of all disciplines, and they're by grade level. So I know what's going on with freshmen in Spanish or freshmen in English or science, and I can collaborate with those teachers and perhaps capitalize on what they're doing in my classes and vice versa. So we have some things we do with the structure of our bells and some things with our architecture that really help us with that.
Yeah. So how do your students react to this idea? This is really cool. This idea that there is no like traditional sort of like, or there are no desks in the rooms and all this interdisciplinary connectivity. I'm just thinking of, you know, how many times did we, whenever we were growing up here and still here in education today, you know, why do we have to do this? This isn't such and such class, it's history or so on and so forth, you know?
You know, one of the things is it's important to start early, you know, so we were very lucky. We started the school in 2016 and we only had freshmen. So they came in, there were no higher peers, there were no previous experiences, they had no baggage. And so we got to give them our program and our view of things right from the beginning. I know that's really hard for teachers that are established institutions to try, but perhaps it's best to start with your early grades or your earliest learners, and then you can see as those students matriculate up through the curriculum, you know, you could see how they'll be more and more open to the conversation of, you know, how is this scientific? Also, if we use themes in our teaching, then it's easy to overarching themes. So it's easy to identify where the commonalities lie. So as a social studies department, for instance, our themes are multiple perspectives, technology, demographics, equity, and identity. And so if you look at our work through those lenses, you can see issues of equity in English all the time with the literature they read. Right. You can see issues of technology in science and math. You can see issues of demographics and statistics in math. And so if you simplify things a bit and present it to the kids in a thematic way, then it's easier to see the connections between the disciplines. And so they are less likely to just out of hand reject whatever it is you're trying to present to them. So start early, do thematics. We also have overarching themes. Our kids do digital portfolios using Google Sites, and they answer interdisciplinary prompts, and they use artifacts from their classwork to answer those prompts. So our first year, our theme was identity. So how do students as freshmen form their identity? How does their coursework help them form an identity? Last year we did change. So how are the students' perspectives on the world changing as a result of their coursework? And then this year we're doing perspectives. So how has their perspective changed, or what perspectives have they gathered that have helped them understand the world better? And there's other prompts as well where they can use their classwork in order to think about how all of this learning is coming together to help them understand the world better and hopefully be able to solve a problem or two, because we certainly have enough of them and we need them.
Right. Yeah, isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
So it sounds like this goes really well for your students too. Are there any big challenges to your thematic approach?
So yes, there are big challenges. One of them is, how do you integrate the themes meaningfully while you're also trying to, you are trying to cover, like in history classes, you are trying to cover the timeline of history. You're trying to tell a story. It's a narrative. And so you're telling a story and you want it to be connected like a narrative is. Right. You learn one thing and then you connect it to the next thing. And we usually call that cause and effect, in history classes, but we want them to see what we're teaching them as a narrative. And if you have to balance your thematics in there where it doesn't seem so choppy, like, oh, we're just covering technology now. And so we look at technology through a bunch of history, but there's no overarching narrative of history. You're not telling a story. So we have to figure out how to tell the story and cover themes, and that's not easy to do. So we've experimented. All of our opening units in our core courses are thematic based. They're based on our 5 themes, or we either teach explicitly about the themes, or we teach about American history, and we ask questions of American history based on those themes. So we have a unit where we specifically cover the themes. And then we've used blogging, student blogging, to have the kids constantly reflect on, okay, what have I learned? How does it relate to the themes that we learned?
That's awesome.
And continuously do that through the curriculum. But we're also trying to find other ways to make it meaningful for them. But those are just 2 strategies that we've used as a department to try to teach thematically. And then, of course, I already said that the kids are building those Google sites with the digital portfolios. That sort of brings everything together as a school, and they can relate to their work at the school. So, I mean, that's what we're doing, but it's still, we'd like to do more. We'd like it to be more apparent to the students that these themes are happening. So right now we're working on a little icons system. So we're going to use our art classes. Our art class students are going to design icons for each discipline. And then those students are going to be able to, see those icons on the work that they do, right? So, like if you're doing an activity and a question's asked and it's a science question or it's a math question, you can put the math icon next to it.
I love that.
You'll be able to see it like in the activities, on the assessments, and you'd have these icons that would make it very apparent for the students that you're doing math now, you're doing science now. I know this is a history class, but these things are occurring, and here's some proof. It's just calling their attention to it. So we're working on that right now, and we experiment with new things every year. So
yeah, this is great.
It's essential.
Yeah, absolutely. And another one of those things that's essential, and it's something that we were talking about before filming too, was this idea of civics education. I've taught civics before. I teach U.S. history now, but civics is incredibly important, and especially in this fall season, helping our kids understand, how does our government function? What are the principles? What are our responsibilities as citizens? So how do you use some of these themes? Like I'm thinking of like the multiple perspectives themes to tie in and help these students understand this is how I can be a good citizen in the United States.
Yeah, civics education is incredibly important right now. It's struggling across the country. There's a lot of students that don't even have to take civics or take government in high school or anywhere. They don't have to participate in democratic-like behaviors. And so we're kind of in a crisis of civic education right now. And I think part of it is because social studies has taken on way too much of civics education. And so one of the reasons why I really believe in the interdisciplinary model is because I believe it's really compatible with citizenship. If you use themes to teach about issues of technology, it's easy for students to write policies and solve problems in technology. Issues of equity with fairness, it's easier for them to, okay, I understand what equity is, I understand fairness, I understand how that plays out in society, so I could practice in school solving these kinds of problems, civil rights issues, gender rights issues, and those are just a couple. So you can look at it in a more holistic way, as opposed to getting really blinded by the sheer number of problems and issues that we have, sort of chasing your tail or being a prisoner of the moment. That's something I don't like to do either. You know, when stuff's going on in the news, you know, a lot of civics teachers feel the need to like react immediately and teach a lesson on whatever's going on in the news. And it's like, you know what, in context, yes, but we want to be able to kind of slow it down for the kids, give them a filter to think about and see these issues, and then get practice solving the problem. So I would like to see civics embedded in everything we do. I don't, you know, if the kids are doing science, for instance, our students at Portola, they build aquaponics projects. So they build these aquaponics environments in aquariums. They're trying to get plants to live using fish poop, basically. And so the kids have to design the environments. They have to learn all the science behind it. And then they literally construct it with, you know, with wood and saws and aquariums and stuff. But I think the key to that assignment is understanding that aquaponics is an alternative to the way we do traditional agriculture, that we should be aware of how traditional agriculture hurts the environment and how we need more sustainable solutions. And the kids can reflect on, okay, I learned all this stuff about aquaponics, but how does this play out in the world? Could this be a viable solution to solve a real sustainable problem?
Are you finding your students are making those connections? That this is really cool.
Well, that's what we're working on, right? So when the kids, they're freshmen that do this, when they present their aquaponics projects, our science department invites all the teachers in the school to come by. We do exhibitions in our student union throughout the day. And so we invite all the staff, and the staff participates in the assessment of the projects, and the kids present to us kind of Shark Tank style. Awesome. And try to sell us on their environment. And there's, 20 groups, 30 groups, 40 groups in the room at the same time, all doing their pitches. And so you're moving from student to student and from group to group, and they're really good right now at explaining their aquaponics experiment. What they do struggle with is, okay, how does this connect to the world? So what we've noticed is we got to assess ourselves and say, are we emphasizing the right things, in science? Like, what is the purpose of doing all this scientific work if it's not to improve humanity? So that's actually an area of growth for us. How do we help our science students understand that there's a civics element to this? It's your obligation as a citizen in this world to use your skills to make it better. And that project allows them to try to do that. We just have to have them make those connections clear. They answer a question at the end and they're supposed to present on it, but that's always the part that kind of gets left. They spend a lot less time on that. And I'd like to see civics taught in math. You know, how is math being used in the world to make a difference? How is, culture classes like world language, why is it important to know about world language? Why is it important to know another language? Those are all conversations that I encourage all teachers of all disciplines to have in their students. Don't be afraid of it because you think it's, oh, that's not my discipline. This is math. We don't talk about what the world needs and what the problems are, but why not? I mean, that's a really important way, I think, to make math, science, and other content relevant to the kids. And so we're a work in progress on that. That's part of our CCC. Like I said, this is our third year, but we're taking steps in that direction where our kids are starting to ask those questions and relate what they're doing to the world.
Yeah. So with everything you're doing too, I cannot imagine this happens in a school where there is a really negative school culture of any sort. It sounds like you must have a great one. What do you think has been able to piece that all together to create so that you can do these sort of aquaponics sort of activities and experiments? Yeah.
School culture is a big. We have a phenomenal school culture here, but it's also a developing school culture, and it's a culture we have to work hard to defend, so to speak, because we add 20 to 25 new teachers every year. and next year will be no exception. So when you add that many new staff members at once, it is a challenge to get everybody to learn, okay, why do we do these CCC cross-curricular meetings every month? Why our classrooms, for instance, are arranged interdisciplinary. So I'm on a floor with other English teachers. We have world history paired with math. We have world language paired with math. And so we mix everybody up so that we're around each other and we're sort of aware of what each other are doing. We have to explain intentionally, this is why you arrange this the way you are with your classroom. This is why you're in the collaboration space you're in. This is why we have our CCC meetings. This is why we build 2 hours a week of collaboration time into our bell schedule. And we really use it for collaboration. We only have one staff meeting every other month or something like that. And the rest of it, our administration does with a newsletter. So we build systems around it. We also try to hire the right people. And in hiring the right people, we front load them with some of the things we're doing. And we tend to want to hire people that believe that interdisciplinary is important, that citizenship is important, but most of all, that passion is important. I think if the kids are in school doing things they care about, the rest of it will take care of itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you got to build it in. It's got to be intentional.
Mm-hmm. And so, even outside of you building the school culture, you're also trying to start a movement at the same time. You yourself, you've started blogging over the summer. You have the new hashtag What If Army. Go ahead and explain that to us all. Yeah.
So I'm actually releasing a new episode today.
Awesome.
This one's about, it's called hashtag Worst First Day Ever. I took a risk on the first day and it didn't work out the way I had hoped. And so I have that all set up and I'll be posting that very shortly after we're done here. But it's really inspired by people like you, Phil, and all over Twitter. Twitter was something I started heavily about a year ago. In August, I said, I've been teaching for about 9 years and I feel like I'm plateauing growth-wise and I need to be inspired by other people. So I went on Twitter and I learned about all the cool things people were doing. And there's so many blogs out there. And I read a lot of blogs, great blogs, and I learned so much from these. And I said, okay, what do I have to contribute, right? Like, I don't have anything that anybody wants to hear. But then I thought about it some more, and I thought, well, you know what? Having to articulate what I believe in and what's going on with me actually makes me a better teacher, and it makes me a better person. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to take the plunge. I'm going to try it. So I released it over the summer. I was actually doing a summer seminar in DC when I wrote it all up and I put it out there on the internet and released my first video, 2 videos actually. But it's really about fostering the part of teachers that's a dreamer. I think a lot of us, we start teaching and we're all passion, we're all energy. We want to save the world, save every kid, and all these things. And yes, we're overwhelmed, but we believe in what we do. And then after a long enough time, and you've had your heart broken a few times by colleagues, by administrators, just by the system, I think that it's important for teachers to reconnect with that dreamer that they have, that person that asks, what if we could do this a better way? What if we could be better teachers? What if we could serve the kids better? What if we can actually serve our communities and make the world a better place through our work? What if teachers really were superheroes, even if they're not perfect? So that's really what the inspiration for the vlog was about putting out these sort of what if statements, dream statements in various subjects. And then that's what the hashtag was supposed to be about. I'm working on my hashtag game. I don't even use my own hashtag as much as I need to.
It takes time. It takes lots of practice.
Yeah, you already told me that for sure. And then it's taken practice. And then the other thing too is, I don't have a Twitter chat around it yet. Maybe that'll be an aspiration someday. But I'll put the videos out and I hope people enjoy them. I hope they maybe are inspired by them or they relate to them, or whatever the case may be. I'm just putting myself out there because I really want to continue to grow, and blogging and vlogging and Twitter has been an amazing experience to try to do that. And it's hashtag What If Army, and it's I'll be posting more regularly now that the year's starting to smooth out a little bit. I've had a little hiatus.
Yeah. Got to take that little break as the year starts. Well, hey, if you want to watch Jon's vlog, I'm going to make sure that goes in the description of the video below too. Jon, we've talked about a lot today. We've talked about interdisciplinary learning, thematic goals, and thematic teaching. Civics Ed, the What If Army, the vlog, the school culture, themes galore. And we're starting to get that magical moment where our time is running up. So we're going to go ahead and do our high fives here. 5 questions, totally unrelated to education, just so that the viewers get to know you a little better. You ready?
Awesome.
Okay. Ready. First one, favorite way to eat a potato?
My favorite way to eat a potato is actually a French fry, for sure. Yeah, I cannot keep my hands off them.
Mm-hmm. Is there anywhere where you really like French fries from? Like, I'm a big McDonald's fry fan.
McDonald's is strong fry game. You know, I don't know how far these restaurants go, but in California we have lots of islands restaurants. I don't know if that's something that's translated to the East Coast yet, but it's the best fry. It's like a Hawaiian tiki themed burger joint, and the burgers are good. The fries are amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second one, song that pumps you up in the morning.
Oh, song that pumps. You know what? I like. I'm a big movie score collector. I do a lot of movie scores. Those are actually the background music to my vlogs. I love movie scores. So I actually don't do pump up in the morning. I actually do. I tend to do like sort of inspirational or epic music in the morning.
All right.
It pumps me up, but it gets me feeling like what I do is really important. So I love anything Hans Zimmer. Anything Hans Zimmer writes. Hans Zimmer's written, you know,
amazing things.
Interstellar and Inception and all the Batmans with Christian Bale and Chris Nolan and all that stuff. So it's just great stuff. So a little Hans Zimmer in the morning goes a long way.
Good way. Good choice. 3, your favorite time of year.
My favorite time of year. That's a really tough one. I love football season. Mm-hmm. I used to be a high school football coach when I first started in the profession. I went to get my master's, and then I had a baby, so that kind of went away, and it's been about 8-9 years. But I love going to high school football games on Friday nights. I love the camaraderie and the pageantry, and just people getting together to celebrate the great stuff that students and teachers are doing. So I love high school football season.
Yeah, I'm there with you on that. 4, marinara or Alfredo sauce.
Ooh, marinara for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's not a taste thing though. It's okay. If you're going to say, okay, which one I like that I think is more tasty, Alfredo's more tasty. But marinara is a little better for us. And so trying to eat a little bit better, I'll probably choose marinara, but I'll be staring at your Alfredo and wishing that I had ordered that for sure.
And 5, the best way that you give yourself some rest.
The best way to give myself rest. Building a new school doesn't translate to very much rest. Actually, my best rests are not rests at all. My best rests are the moments where I take some time for myself and I get some exercise. I really like to run. I mountain bike and I bodyboard sometimes on the weekends with my best friend. And yeah, those are physical things but they really do rest my mind. And they make me feel less anxious, and I'm happy doing those things. So yeah, they're active, but I definitely feel rested when I come back from a weekend of doing that kind of cool stuff.
That's awesome. Well, hey, again, Jon, we've loved having you on the show today. A lot of really awesome things. If any of you are watching this right now and you want to connect with Jon, his Twitter handle can also be found below in the description for today's episode. Also, if you liked what you saw today, please consider subscribing to Edusations. And if you or a friend want to be on Edusations, they can very easily sign up by going to philstrunk.com/contact. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.